go live. Hello, hello, hello. Hi, everyone. Okay, I hope you can hear me fine. I'm already starting a couple minutes early. But it's nothing too unusual. Okay, I'm gonna wait for also a bit of responses. I think the audio should be working fine, but I just want to make sure. One moment. Okay. Okay, so as you can see on the screen, this is kind of where I left off last time. And to be honest, I'm pretty happy with this. Ah, nice. It's all okay. This is already going pretty good. There's like a couple areas that I would like to tweak before moving forward. But for today, the main thing I'm going to focus on at first is the other facial elements. So there's still the eyes, the eyebrows, the teeth, and the tongue, all of those things. And then I'm going to move on to the hair, which I also want to retopologize, because just like with rain, I'm not going to simulate the hair or add like a groom. It's all going to be mesh hair. So I want that to be cleanly retopologized. This will make it really easy to display it in the viewport, use it during animation, and with the right shaders, it will still look really nice. Okay, so first off, there's actually a little thing. I'm also going to start the music, by the way. So, nice. Okay, so there's actually a little thing I changed, and this is based on like a tip I got, which is I added another modifier in here. So in the first video, if you've seen that, and you can also still see it, I've shown you how to how I've basically set up the entire retopology. Wait, one moment. Okay, so the mirror modifier is pretty self-explanatory. So after that, I added a subdivision surface modifier to like subdivide it, make it really smooth. I can also display this in edit mode directly. Oh, this is actually, sorry, the shrink wrap modifier. So it actually shrinks it back onto the sculpt. So it's always nice the way how it's supposed to look like. Then a subdivision surface modifier, which is mainly for object mode, but you can also enable it in edit mode. But I got a tip from Stefan Wilkström, who watched apparently last time as well, and that is to add a Solidify modifier. And this is like a really neat little trick. You can see what's happening. It's actually, whereas before, you would always see through a model and see like the backside, and like it's really distracting, especially while I was retopologizing the ear. It was really annoying. You could now just enable this modifier and bam, it's blocked. So this is really interesting if I like just show it like this. So essentially what the Solidify modifier is doing, it's starting to add thickness to the object. So I can just like show this. It's adding like a backside, and if we invert this, it's going to basically extrude all of this geometry in towards the inside. So if I now make this like a thickness of 0.002 meters towards the inside, it will actually block the geometry, and with the hidden wire overlay, it will just disappear. So even if I would now just hide this geometry, I don't see the inner side of the mouth, which is amazing. Like, I was not aware that this was so easy. It's a bit of a hack, to be honest. If at some point the retopology display gets improved, this should be like an easy toggle or something, not like a modifier that you need to add. But essentially, like if I invert the normals over here in the mouth cavity, I can still see the geometry. But if it's just normal, any face that is viewed from behind, it's not going to be visible. this makes things a lot easier. So thanks for that. I also see already first question, planning a film for rain and or snow? No, not yet. I mean, it kind of happened by accident that last time we when we had rain, we were doing animation tests for her, and then eventually it just led into like an actual Blender open movie. So maybe that could happen again, but it wouldn't happen really planned. Okay, so first things first. There's like a couple things I wanted to check, and that is like, okay, I'm gonna quickly switch to another expression test. So there's like this crease over here that I want to have in the retopology, and I didn't mark it. So I want to really make sure where this is. So yeah, it's like kinda here. So if I really relax this, yeah, it should be like here, kinda. Okay, and then it can like compress upwards. So if I bring back all of this geometry, it is this edge. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I'm gonna mark this as a sharp, just so I know this is not supposed to change. And again, if you have any questions directly towards me, you can tag Blender Studio in the comments. Then it's going to be just this bright orange. I can immediately see it. Okay. So what now? I would like to change one thing a bit, and that is like I want to nudge around some of this geometry. If I look at these loops, they're kind of going a bit counter to the head shape, like where it's going, and I want to have this more aligned. So can I just, let's see, if I change this to be just wire. No, this is not making it easier for me to see. Oh well, I'm just going to toggle off in front. And now if I use the slide relax brush, I can like, oh, I'm also going to disable the subdivision surface modifier again to increase performance a bit. Okay, so I can like slide all of this a bit. Yeah, kind of like this. So I just want to make sure that this is kind of aligned. It's a small tweak, but it should help. I can like also move this a bit more towards the back. I can smooth over this entire part. Oh, I'm also going to duplicate and apply mirror modifier again, just so smoothing here has like this kind of nice and desired effect. Like this. Yeah, and now the forehead is just at least a bit more aligned with the topology. The topology is a bit more aligned to the forehead, I mean. Do you use Retopology add-ons like Retopology in your work normally? No. Although I am, from time to time, using the add-on a bit just to try it out a bit, because it is a really good add-on. But usually, while I'm working at the studio, I'm not using any paid add-ons, or at least not many. Like, there's a couple exceptions I used, but just for like tweaking the UI a bit. It's nothing major, but anything like that really affects the workflow. We're using Blender as default as it gets, as much as possible. Okay. There was also another question. Are the expression sculpted shape keys or what? Yes. they are just a bunch of shape keys. There's like, if you want to know more about this, like how I go around like adding these, like sculpting these expression tests via shape keys, I have like a bunch of videos on the Blender Cloud. Like there's also a link in the description to the course and all that stuff. But I'm not going to really go into this in this stream. This is more supposed to be about the retopology. Okay, so if I look at this, one of the things I was a bit sad about is that there's this crease going around here. And the way how I aligned these loops, it's not actually highlighting this crease. This like a crease in the neck. So I'm going to like slide all of this down. So I get to actually align these loops with that crease. So I'm gonna just mark it that, yeah, this is gonna be my crease. So I have these two other loops to kind of frame it into place. There we go. Like this. I mean, I can't wait for the for this brush to be kind of like available in edit mode, or like for some more retopology integration. It is a bit sad, like whenever I move to sculpt mode, that I lose this overlay, but there are plans for this to change. It's just requiring quite a bit of discussion and design and work. Okay. If you're ever wondering why like there's a bunch of issues in Blender, people are aware, not just the users but also the developers. It's just maintaining and just designing a giant software like this. It's not easy, and it takes a lot of time and effort. You can't put out all fires at once. I'm kind of neglecting the chat. Is there a possibility that the Blender Studio will be using Cycles X version to render sprite fright? I assume that the right now there are features missing. Yes, that is kind of a problem right now. I mean, Cycles X is really exciting, and we are maybe going to test it a bit, but the film is very likely not going to be rendered with it because it just doesn't align with the production plan of the movie. So that's a bit sad, but maybe for the next project. Very likely for the next project. We'll see. Oh, I just now noticed that I'm actually not using snapping in edit mode. Okay. So, I mean, this is basically it. This is all I wanted to do. Just nudge down this, these loops down here. So this aligns a bit more with that crease. And then I have like these two loops kind of frame this area. And these will hold this shape a bit more. There we go. Kind of like this. Okay. Pretty happy with this. I don't care too much about the back of the head, to be honest. But I can just bring all of this back. Maybe, to be honest, I should care a bit more about the back of the head, because he does have an undercut, and it is making the back of his head a bit more exposed. So I could at least slide these loops a bit upwards to also frame this area a bit more. Just a bit of tweaking, but I'm almost done. But now, yeah, it is a bit, it's getting a bit bars over here. I wouldn't want to like add a ton of extra loops over here because they're all going to go into the nose, the eyes, the mouth. But I could theoretically add a loop over here, which is just going to go around. And I don't mind if there's like one additional loop in the forehead. So I'm actually going to do that. I just need to smooth this out a bit. Oh, Jesus. What is going on over here? I don't really get why the shrink wrap modifier is not working anymore. It's really weird. Oh. It has to do with the vertex groups. Oh, no way. Hold on. I made this shrink wrap vertex group, which is kind of like acting as a mask to help me out defining where it's supposed to shrink wrap. But then it's not actually doing anything. Oh, because it's not enabled. Okay, hang on. I'm gonna change this back to just the usual. Huh. Now it's actually working. Interesting. For some reason it does everything or nothing. Some more questions. Notice me, love your channel, thank you. Why did you UV unwrap the model before it's done? I didn't. These are seams, but I'm just using them as a kind of reminder for where some of my important loops are. They are just purely for the purpose of annotating the model. Is the canvas workspace only on 3.0? It's actually my own workspace. You could at any point just create a workspace by just like, I could make like a layout workspace and call this test. And then the test workspace will appear if you save this as your startup file. So there's like plenty of ways to make like your own Blender setup. So to be honest, I don't quite understand. Oh, now it makes sense. Okay. So this was actually not added to the this was not added to the vertex group, of course. Okay. Same is actually going on with the inner nose. So I need to add this to the vertex group, then it will not get shrink wrapped anymore. This took long enough. Okay. Sometimes it's not exactly clear what's going on, sorry. Okay, I'm going to duplicate and apply the shrink wrap modifier. Wow. I think this might actually be a bug. I've never seen the slide relax brush act so weird when you have the shrink wrap modifier enabled at the same time. That is a bit strange. have a feeling it did actually mess up my retopology a bit. Everything kind of jittered around, just slightly. Maybe I'm just seeing things, I don't know. Yeah, I kind of have the feeling everything got jittered around. It's really strange. That shouldn't happen. Maybe it is a new bug. It wouldn't be the first time that something really weird happens. Yeah, what is going on here? Oh, it's set to... Oh, no. Okay, I'm actually going to undo this. This is stupid. I set it to the wrong wrap method. It's not good. Okay, I can just open the entire undo stack. And... just go back. And that also explains the jittering. It was always snapping to the nearest vertex. I wanted it to snap to target normal project. Oh, here it's already applied. So where did I copy the modifier? I'm sorry that this is now this wasn't supposed to happen. Huh. Oh my god, when did I do this? When did I... Oh my god. This is a bit stupid. Okay, let's revert. I hope I didn't save over it. No, I did save over it. Okay, it happened a while ago. That's fine. Or maybe I can just set it to target normal. Ah, it's fixed. Perfect. Okay. Phew. Should have spotted that. Okay, if I go to edit mode, this is all looking fine. I can smooth over the back of the head a bit more. Perfect. I'm gonna save. This is all looking really nice, and I do like how it looks in comparison. If we directly compare it to, let's see. To Rain, which I do actually have open. I have her here on the side. And I always regretted a bit with Rain retopology that her poly count is actually pretty high. It is actually way higher than is necessary. Like, the amount of loops that go through the nose is just a bit overkill. And it's all the loops that are going back into like the neck and the shoulders, and it's just too much. One thing that I'm trying to fix a bit with Snow is to have his poly count a bit more controlled. Only as much as necessary, even though I would say like with oh, wow, okay, that file kind of broke a bit. Ah, there we go. Even though I would say her topology is actually really nice, like it's like very clean, it is too high poly. So let's try a bit of something different with Snow. I'm gonna bring the hair back. I'd say like the loops are now, come on. They're nicely aligned, or like more aligned with the hair, yes. Okay. And now I would like to retopologize the hair itself. And I don't think this is going to be too tricky. Let's just actually start with this part of the hair. So I want this actually to be its own geometry. So, and since the patches over here that you can already see, they are already much more aligned with this, like this geometry that is laying on top. I could just duplicate this and make the new object out of this. It's gonna save me some time. So let's see. I'm just going to select all of this. And I'm going to duplicate and duplicate this with Shift D. Oh, I actually forgot to enable the screencast keys add-on. This always happens. There we go. Already better. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna press P and select, separate selected. I'm going to hide the retopology of the face. So now it's all about the hair, or at least this hair object. I'm going to get rid of this, set a different target, and I'm just going to select, come on. I'm going to select the hair object, which is called head 005. I didn't name any of this. Okay. And in this case, I actually want the Solidify modifier, which is perfect. So I'm actually going to display the other side. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to give it a bit of thickness, like this. I think that's perfect, actually. Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to show it like on cage. This should be good enough. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Why is the... Oh, now the shrink wrap is working. Okay, perfect. So I can just move some of these points around. I'm actually also going to... no, I can just keep the seams for now, that's fine. But I do think I want to slide this geometry a bit more over here. Oh, I'm also going to duplicate and apply the shrink wrap. Just so it's not flicking around the vertices. There we go. Also, I don't know why clipping wasn't enabled. It's a bit weird. Okay. Also, again, if you have any questions, just let me know directly in the comments. You can tag me. I'm actually going to... Hey, above surface, please. Does this actually work? Wow, it really doesn't. Oh well. Why is there a hole over here? There are multiple holes. Okay. Can smooth over this a bit. Just a bit. Don't want this to be completely different than the head. Let's see. I'm actually going to delete this part over here. Just move this down. There we go. Let's see. I am actually going to just add another loop here. Screw it. And then I'm going to smooth a bit over it, but I'm using the wrong brush. Slide relax. This is the one brush that is really useful for retopology. I'm also going to, use turn snapping off, and I'm going to inflate. I'm going to use the shrink fatten tool a bit to like get it to snap a bit more towards the outside. I'm going to duplicate and apply the shrink wrap modifier so it actually sticks in place. Is the model coming to the Blender market? I see someone ask. No, this is going to be eventually available on the Blender cloud. You can also already download the first character that I've made of the series, which is called Rain, and it's completely available for free. There should be a link in the description, or at least a link to the cloud, so you can check it out right there. There we go. Smooth this a bit more, like this. Not a huge fan of this. Like I don't want a pole to be right on the edge of this. So instead, I'm actually going to get rid of the seams now. In this case, I don't really need that display. So I can just model this a bit differently. Like this. Smooth this. Now this is a familiar sight. The two poles right next to each other on the temple. Same thing I did on Rain. Well, it should be fine. Maybe I can like slide it up. I shouldn't try to fix it. It's nothing really to be fixed, to be honest. Okay, here we go. Okay. There we go. I think this can work, although yeah, this part over here kind of needs to be needs to remain sharp, and for that I need to move these loops up. I want to disable the subdivision surface modifier for now. I see a question from before. Free? Yeah, free. So Rain is actually one of the characters that on the Blender Cloud that is just a complete production ready rigged character that you can just download for free, and it's Creative Commons, so you can just use it forever. It's yours. And probably we're going to do the same treatment for snow over here. I can see that happening. Let's see. Not really happy with how few loops are here, but oh, maybe that's fine. I'm going to re-enable the subdivision surface modifier, but I'm actually going to put it below the Solidify modifier. And on the Solidify, I'm going to activate toggle only rim, which then just adds thickness, but it's not going to fill in the backside. Instead, it's just adding this rim to it. And that's it, if that makes sense. Don't see the link to rain. I see someone asked, do you rig the character or does someone else do that? Well, for the character rain, you can, I can add it to the description, but you can go to the Blender Cloud and then there is a, what is it called? Well, there's a character section, but it's like, wait, I can just show you, to be honest. So if I go to the Blender Cloud, there's a libraries section over here. So you can just click here. And this is still like kind of the old layout of the website, but here you can find just, the characters, and you can just click here on characters or see all characters, and here you can find a folder called rain, and you can just download the character for free. There's also a bunch of other characters available, so you can just kind of browse through them. Most of them are just part of the Blender open movies that we've done so far. But that's essentially it. Let's see. To be honest, I don't care too much about the retopology of the hair over here. I think this is already looking pretty good. I just wanted to make sure that none of these poles, so vertices that have more or less than 4 edges, are actually on the rim, on the edge of the topology. Otherwise, it's gonna be really visible and kind of ugly. Okay, so kind of happy with that. So I'm actually going to hide the retopology collection. The next thing I would like to get into is actually just get the eyes and everything going. So these eyes are actually already pretty good. They are pretty much directly copied from Rain. Same as the teeth, although these are not the... I don't think these are the retopologized teeth. So I want to actually quickly check. So I have Rain over here, and if I hide this, I can quickly check out the teeth objects. And wait, I think this is actually... I think these are pretty much exactly the teeth that I was using, as well as... come on. As well as the tongue. Yeah, this is already everything I need. So when I was doing the sculpt and especially the expression tests, I copied over the final teeth and tongue from Rain. So I'm just going to use this. And in case of the eyes, this is a bit different. So I made these eyes over here purely as a preview for the animators. So these look a bit different than the eyes that are going to be used for rendering. They are a bit more flat. They have like this little bit of a plateau for the pupil, and they have this little highlight over here, which is essentially just a sphere scaled down. So I would like to replace this, or at least have another solution, and that is essentially going to be this eye setup. So I think I'm just going to copy this exactly. So I'm just gonna in this file Control-C, and over here, I hope this is not disappointing anyone, that like I'm just copy pasting objects from an already existing retopology, but oh, there we go. But I can at least show you what I did with them. So I can just like scale this down. Okay, this is... Let's see. Actually, I'm gonna bring back the sculpt. Oh, oops. I unhid all the collections. Okay, I'm going to copy the location of this eye over here. And I'm going to set like... I basically just pressed Shift S, cursor to selection, and I'm just going to go through the other eyes and say selection to cursor. And now they're going to snap to the same position. There we go. Let's see. I'm actually going to disable. Don't be confused about this. This is just my own menu. I'm essentially toggling wireframes over here and the object panel. So I have like wireframes per object. But I just want to toggle between the sculpt and the retopology. There's like some details here missing, but don't worry, I'm going to get those back. Although there are a couple of areas that I would like to tweak a bit. Now that I see the comparison. I can do that in a moment. Huh, interesting. Well... this is interesting. Let's finish with the eyes. I'm getting sidetracked. I'm sorry. But it's just mainly that they are not the right scale. Do I still have the scale values in here? Not just one. Oh, and a little bit of rotation. Interesting. Along the Z-axis. Well, that doesn't... Oh, it does actually make sense. I'm gonna copy that and put it in here on these objects as well. There we go. I want these eyes to be exactly the same. And then I'm going to scale up these guys. And I want the... I basically have these two objects over here. And these are the eye here in the middle, which is essentially just like a sphere, and then with this part here extruded inwards. And then it just really extruded in to show the pupil. I think I can actually like... Wait, does it have materials? No. Okay. And then I have a second object over here, and that is basically coming from the same original sphere object, and it's just the cornea that has like a little bit of a bulge over here at the center. And this is the actual outer eye. It has a bit of a distance from the inner one, and if you scale this to match the eyelids, you should be careful that the outer side, the cornea, the transparent one, is actually the one touching the eyelid. Okay, so I see questions. How many polys is the final sculpt? I'm not sure. To be honest, I don't really care. If it's, I guess like, oh, it just crashed. No. Okay, let's bring Blender back. Okay, snow. When was the last save? That was basically now. So let's open. 42. Yeah, I just saved just before the crash. I'm really glad. How many polys? Okay, I go to the Sculpt and I check. This is 2.3 million. So yeah, that's basically it. And yeah, I was using multi-res, but only for the final detailing, just a little bit. But most of the way I just did it with the remesher. Why do you have the gizmos? I am actually using my own key map where I'm just switching between the tools, so that's why the gizmos are visible, if you were wondering. Recycling is good. Yes, I agree. Absolutely. So, let's see. I actually want to also duplicate this object over here. Oh, I have snapping enabled. And bring it to the retopology as well. Because this eye is actually also going to be really useful later on. What is this? Oh, it's a stroke from the grease pencil. Okay, these are still missing. Well, they have a mirror modifier, but they need to actually get mirrored over to the center, which is why I have like an empty in the center of the world, which is just called center, and I can just use that object as a center point to mirror them across. Saves me a bit of time, and I get to keep the origin of the object to rotate them around their own origin. Then why do you have the gizmos if you don't use them? I do use them, just not all the time. If I would like move this around, I have the tool set to like dragging, that it's just using the active tool, so I can just drag anywhere and it's just moving it. But whenever I want to move it across a specific axis, I just click on the axis. So that's what I'm using the gizmos for. I could also just use the gizmos all the time, but to be honest, that is not efficient. That like just clicking anywhere is just way faster. But I don't want to like click anywhere and then just press X, Z, Shift, Z, and then like figure out what axis I'm actually using. It's no. I think this is just a bit more convenient. Getting a bit sidetracked. I'm bringing back the Sculpt. There we go. I can hide the eyes. I can hide also the face. Well, to be honest, I would like to tweak the retopology over here a bit. Let's enable hidden wire. And that is... Wait, let's just disable this. I'm going to actually go to sculpt mode. I'm going to enable wireframes on this object again. Although in sculpt mode it is really not easily visible. But let's see. Slide relax. Oh, wrong side. Slide relax. And I want to just like tweak this to have this a bit more narrowed down over here. Because there's like this this sharp area over here on the eye corners. Okay. Let's smooth this out a bit. I'm going to decrease the strength of the brush, to be honest, just a little bit. Okay. Now, I want to move this edge a bit further inwards. And the main reason for that is to highlight that hard edge a bit more. Like to crease this edge over here on the brow, just a bit. And then there was the same thing over here, to be honest. Like this. You can also snap. I'm not super happy how the crease for here is actually this edge, but then I'm treating this crease as the actual, this edge as the actual crease. I think it's fine. It's just not. I wish these would be the same edge that are the center of that entire crease. Let's see. There we go. How can I enable the option to toggle X-ray and overlays when pressing Z? Oh, this is actually you can find it in the preferences key map. And over here there is a toggle called extra shading pie menu items. Well, okay, it used to be called just extra shading pie menu, I think. And this just adds these two extra options to the Z pie menu, which I think is super helpful. It also frees up the shortcuts for Alt-Z and Shift-Z, and I just set them to be something else. Like Shift-Z for me is toggling the wireframe overlay over here. And Alt-Z is just opening like my own little menu, and that's it. Okay. I shouldn't really tweak the retopology that much anymore over here. But one thing I would also still like to change is I kind of neglected that this is also a hard edge, which is a bit unfortunate because it also has a pole right here. But to be honest, I don't care too much right now. I think this is fine. It's just the jaw. So I can like push these a bit closer together. So wait. So these are like keeping that crease when everything is getting subdivided. Now I can like smooth this and push this a bit inwards. Okay. Kind of like this. Yeah, this is like the one part that I'm really not happy with, but at least it's just one little aspect. It's nothing too major. A bit of perfectionism is driving me right now, just because I want to fix all the mistakes, even the little ones I made with rain. Snow is supposed to be just a bit cleaner. It's the second time around. Okay. I think I'm fine if the ears are going to lose a bit of definition. It would take still quite a bit of effort to get that, to get all of that detail into the retopology. So I might just leave it. Okay. And I'm already pretty happy with this, so I'm just going to hide it. Yeah, let's start with the hair. So I'm actually going to set the 3D cursor somewhere here. and just create a new plane object. Let's just do that. I'm going to scale it down. And again, I'm going to pretty much copy the same setup as before, only I'm going to skip the mirror modifier. So I'm going to add a shrink wrap modifier, set this to target normal project, set the target to be the hair, then a subdivision surface modifier, just I'm disabling it in edit mode, and then I'm also going to add the Solidify modifier for that shading tweak, which I really like. So just minus 0.2 like that, and enable in edit mode the hidden wire overlay. Yeah, this is fine. And then also enable the in front toggle and also wireframe. Let's do that. Okay, I think the normals are actually inverted. Shift N inside. There we go. Okay, so the main thing I actually want to do is I would like to keep these loops kind of like as straight as possible. I'm actually going to change the color over here. Let's make this like this. Okay, so ideally I would of course want this to be like a kind of straight grid. This will just get the optimal outcome in terms of like keeping the volume. It's going to be nice and clean, but I can't really get that. I want to also follow the shape of the object. So ideally it should, these loops over here should follow these lines to really, like, when it's subdivided, I don't need a lot of loops to catch these shapes, and I can like really easily crease these lines. And I wouldn't like maybe go this far with the, oh, undo doesn't work, with keeping the line straight, but maybe like kind of more like this. So it's twisting a little bit, but not too much. So this is the ideal scenario. And for now, I'm also going to keep this really low. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to separate all of this into separate objects. So in this case, I can focus a bit more on this part. So I can just isolate these two, theoretically, and just work on them, or at least... what the hell? Okay, I'm actually going to name the objects now. This is getting a bit... so it's geo, snow, head.retopology. And this is geo dash snow dot hair underscore hair dot retopology. There we go. Geo dash snow underscore. It's a bit of a naming scheme going on from the movies. So it's like hair, clump, clumps dot retopology. There we go. So this is just like a bit of an example of like how I would just extrude this. Oh. Like this. I'm actually going to hide these over here. So kind of like this. I can then just like... Oh! The screencast keys add-on is disabled again. I didn't notice, sorry. Okay. So, we can just keep adding more geometry. Like this. It's actually like, I'm just going to add like all of this. Like this. Okay. I'm also going to hide all of these guys. Let's get rid of all of them. I just want to focus on this one clump. Kind of like this. So it's like relatively straight going through the entire thing. It's not too twisting. There we go. Over here there's a bit of a break in it. Like just fill this. I don't care too much about triangles right now. These can be really easily resolved later on. I also, like right now, it's a very minimal poly count. It's almost low. It's just almost like game asset low poly. Oh. And that's just because I want to get the bare minimum in here that I need. There we go. Like this. Shouldn't take too long, but this is going to be a bit more of a repetitive step. That's for sure. Because this is not like with a face there are parts where I can just like add a grid and it's just going to be completely filled by it. There's not much to think about here. Every loop, I would say, is pretty much precious. At least in this step. Oh, come on. There we go. Will you bake normal maps and stuff, or just rely on topology for normals? I see someone ask. I'm not going to bake normal maps. That is more of a game asset thing. There's also not really the need for it. The character is stylized enough, the detail level is low enough, that I can just get away with having everything in the topology. Or anything that I can't get just in the topology, I'm going to add via bump maps, like fine, like high frequency details, or maybe even displacement maps, but hopefully it won't come to that. There we go. Okay. I'm getting close. This might actually just be the hair retopology stream, I'm sorry. Okay, this is fine. This is fine. It's just a visible surface. I can just also still slide some of these edges around. Like that. Now, the next thing I want is some of these are like flat surfaces, others are bulging. Like you can really see it here. Like this surface is bulging outwards. And just this is not enough topology to support that. If I would subdivide this, it would all fall apart. So I need at least one extra loop in here for that bulge. See. I'm also going to slide some of this a bit more around. There we go. Okay, same thing here, pretty much. Same thing here. Yep. Also here and here. This also needs a bulge. This already has some topology for bulge. Perfect. Okay. And then this one as well. And this should also resolve some of these triangle situations that I've built in here. Some of them. Maybe most of them. There we go. Okay, and then the next thing is I have these hard edges going on here. Like these guys. Might actually show it based on this. Like this is going all the way over here. This one as well. And these are really just like hard edges between these volumes that need to be visible once subdivided. So I am going to just bevel this. And I'm going to add like one segment in the middle. And that's it. I'm also going to check again with rain. Oh, come on. Wow, Blender crashed again. Did it? Wow. No, it didn't. I don't know why it's turning black. That's a bit weird. So if I look at Rain's hair over here, what did I do? I think I did pretty much the same thing. Yeah, only that I beveled it only once, like only with one segment. Well, that's fine too. Let's see, I could remove this. Can I like this? As long as I have like at least two edges close to one another to crease an edge, it's exactly what I need. So I could just like shade this smooth. So this is just basically my context menu. I can just, yeah, this is what I mean. Like the moment I subdivide it, it's keeping that like hard edge. And there's also another loop over here to keep the curvature of the surface alive. Okay. Pretty much same thing going on over here, only that I'm going to bevel this edge and this one. There we go. And then also this one gets a bevel. And then the crease over there should still be visible. Of course, this is kind of where it starts to get tricky. Because eventually all of these loops are going to lead back into each other. That should be fine. Okay, same thing over here. Only maybe I can. I'm gonna try to bevel these. This is now where it becomes tricky again. Doesn't need to be super clean, but it should at least still kind of make sense. Oh, damn it. Gonna add a loop over here. Connect these two edges. Not a huge fan how these lead into each other. Wasn't too great in the Sculpt either. Maybe I can just kind of merge these. This is pretty tricky. Wait, I'm just gonna delete this. Yeah, I'm really not happy with what I'm doing right now over here. This is not supposed to be this hard. But maybe I'm also just following the Sculpt too strictly. There's just a lot of loops going in here. I see a question, does the topology matter for the hair clumps if they are not going to deform? The thing is, they might. They might deform, but they are not going to animate that much. So the main thing, the main target with this retopology is really just to capture the form. That's it. That's why, like, I don't want to be honest, I don't want to spend too much time on this part right here, because it does feel a bit like wasted effort, since this really won't matter. Let's see. Since it is not going to deform much. I could just slide this in here, merge this, and kill this loop right there. Same thing really here. Could just slide these two into each other and reduce the amount of loops. Come on. Same thing here. Although I shouldn't overdo it, but I think in this case it is kind of warranted. Wow. Yeah, this is a bit messy, but maybe it's fine. At least I'm going to maybe redo this section. Oh, come on. It is a bit it's a bit painful, to be honest. I didn't expect that, like, from the sculpt that I did, that I would have like these points where like a lot of the lines are going into one another. That yeah, should have planned a bit more towards this. Yeah, this looks this looks bad. What am I doing? Yeah, I wish this would actually come out a bit better, but again, this is just the hair. These are just the hair clumps. I don't care too much about them. But I actually also rushed it a bit, to be honest. If I now just select these two objects and isolate them, I want to focus a bit more on this. I should have spent a bit more time just laying out the entire thing and then beveling certain edges once they're ready. Now I have all of this topology to shuffle around. That's a bit my fault. There we go. But now I'm in the middle of it. Now there's no going back. So, gonna move some of this more around. Like this. Oh. Okay, let's continue. I'm going to just bevel this. Wait. Yeah, I'm going to bevel this. It's already fine. I'm going to bevel this too. Oh. Bevel. Like this. And then once you have two triangles next to each other, you can just make a quad out of it and it's fine. Like this. Same thing here, like I can just select all of these edges, like this one, and bevel. You can slide this one in here. Actually, let's just do this. This will become 1. Actually, I'm gonna rip this. There we go. Okay, so there's only like a couple edges over here that I'd still like to change a bit. There we go. Okay, yep, this is looking good. And I can just select this edge over here and bevel it too. It's basically it. So that works. Okay. So in comparison to the other sculpted objects, it's actually really close. So now it is it is a bit of a game of kind of repeating this. So I remember when I did the time lapses for rain, I was actually just when I did the tutorials for rain and the stylized character workflow, I was actually just making a bit of a time lapse out of this. But if you have any questions, I'm already here. So, and I'm going to stick around for a while. So you can just tag me in the comments. Or like tag Blender Studio in the comments. There we go. Yeah, there won't be a lot of commentary for this. I think I basically already said most things about the hair retopology. I just hope this is not going to take too long. Because after this there is supposed to be the body retopology. Question, can you use the same retopology for other hair chunks or part of it? Not really. I kind of sculpted them all a bit individually, so it won't be easy to repurpose it directly. What I can do is I can like go through this chunk as much as possible, like just laying out the most basic loops like I'm doing right now, and before beveling it I can just move on to the next one, and then eventually I will have all of them kind of in the same level of completion done, and then I can bevel them, all of them, and that will just at least give me a bit more perspective. I can keep track of what my progress is on all of them, how they compare, but I wanted to at least finish one of them to show like an example of where I'm going with this. Oh, there we go. Question by Pater. I've been told that having an open mesh is a no-go, but look at you. Well, it always depends. That's the thing. An open mesh, where is the geometry open? To be honest, for these hair clumps, one side is never going to be shown. The bottom side of the clumps, you won't ever see it, so why not leave it open? There's nothing really bad about it. I also do the same on the head retopology. The inner eyes, they will at some point just be open, because you're never going to, unless you're actually at some point going to remove the eyes and you will be able to see the inner eye socket. You don't need the inner eye socket. So same thing for the nose holes potentially. They can just lead into an empty geometry, or the throat. Yes. Do you have any tips for retopology? Well, I'm constantly dropping tips as much as I can. If you want to know anything specific, you can just ask away. For retopology tips, just generally, I don't know, basically everything I went over in the first couple of streams, I would say. I went over a lot. There we go. Another question. A pain that I have never been able to get away from is using the occasional triangle in my modeling at the intersection, at the intersecting sharp angles. Do you use triangles or tris? I do sometimes use triangles, yes. I think it's I think it's actually a great habit to always only use quads, especially once you when you start learning retopology. But if you've ever seen like retopology for example Pixar characters, they know where they can make their retopology messy and where it should be clean. So like at some point I was like seeing screenshots of like how they do ears, and it's just like there's just an n-gon in the middle, just right there where you wouldn't see it, where it wouldn't cause any problems, and it's insane. So I use sometimes n-gons, and I do use some triangles sometimes, but it is very uncommon. They can be useful mainly for just at some point not having to bother about figuring out where a certain loop should go. If it can just disappear somewhere in a crease or something, and you just put a little n-gon there or a triangle, that's fine. But you just have to make sure what your render engine can actually take. There was a time when n-gons were not supported for Blender, so also if you import like your retopology to other software, make sure that n-gons are supported. I see a bunch of questions pop up. How do you set up the control showing the widget? I have a custom key map enabled right now, where I'm just switching between the tools over here. You could just right click on any of them and say add shortcut. So all of my shortcuts are actually switching between the tools. The software looks differently. Why? I do have a bit of a custom theme, but it's like I changed very little. So it is mostly still the same. Okay, so I am actually going to just repeat these steps. So now I'm just going to again duplicate this face over here. Separate this into its own object and pick this hair clump as target. Like that. Perfect. More questions. How do you set up the control showing the widget? Yeah, I already answered that. Oh wait, you're not doing it the way I thought you were. Now I'm lost. Oh, sorry. I should scroll down. After the model is created, I want to use this model for my game development in Unity and find the bones. Aren't working as it works in Blender. Do you have any suggestions for me? Yes, I did notice. I mean, I'm not a rigger, but I did also notice that armatures between different programs are tend actually to work very differently. They have a different logics to them, so you can look up. There should be plenty of resources online, maybe also in game forums like Polycount, on how to export your characters to Unity. I think if you have made them in Blender, maybe it's best to essentially just export the animation, but I'm not sure. Another question, is character modeling and rigging hard? Kinda. There's a lot to learn, but I mean, I don't know. It's like I've been doing it for a while, so it's like anything is hard if you don't know how to do it, but I would say like just go at it and learn more about it. I think you can get a lot. You can do a lot already with very minimal amount of knowledge in terms of modeling. With rigging, it's a bit more tricky. There I personally have a very limited knowledge in rigging, and I do know that the ceiling is pretty much endless on what you can do in that department. But in that case, like, you can already do quite a bit with the rigging basics, as long as you have someone to show you how to actually do it, or like a really good tutorial. There's plenty of courses online. Even with a basic understanding of rigging, I think you can get quite a bit of interesting stuff going. Do you know anyone who starts with a cage with good topology and then sculpts detail to bake? This is what I do, and I don't know if this is a good practice. Well, you mean as in just repurposing an already existing topology? I've seen a lot of people doing that, and I think it is actually a really good practice of just, if you already have a head sculpt that is in the rough style and proportions that you want to go for, then why not repurpose it, deform it into the design that you're going for, and then you already have a good topology. You can add details on top. If that's what you're asking, sorry. If you've seen the previous stream, I did a bit of an extreme version of that, where I was sculpting the sheep character called Michelle from Cosmos Laundromat. It's like the original version of Frank, and I just sculpted Michelle from the actual Frank sheep model from the movie Cosmos Laundromat. So it's like a heavy resculpting, but it's kind of showing that it's possible. What tablet are you using? I'm using an Wacom Intuos. What is it? Intuos 5. I think it is. I'm like looking at it right now. It says Intuos 5 Touch. Although I'm using various different tablets. To be honest, my opinion is kind of just go for the most basic thing. At home, like for my own projects, I'm just using a Wacom Intuos Bluetooth medium size, and that is really just the most basic functionality, and it's exactly what I need. I don't need all the touch functionality. It's millions of levels in pressure sensitivity and all that stuff. Even a screen is kind of overrated, I think. It is giving you some advantage, but it is actually quite uncomfortable to work with. Advice for upcoming young animators. I don't know. I'm not an animator, to be honest. Maybe there could be at some point an animator stream. That would be fun. How much time do I have? Still have a good amount of time. Okay, is this looking good? Kinda. Might have overdone it a bit with this one. I do need to go a bit further around the retopology on this side. Might actually be visible. But I just need to do it a bit. Like this. Should be good enough. Let's see. Yep, should be good enough. Okay. So now I already got 3 clumps retopologized. 2 more over here to go, and then these guys. And with this, I did actually duplicate them, so I can save a bit of time. So I can just, let's see, select this clump over here, isolate these, and continue with this one. see some more questions. You can also tag me, tag Blender Studio directly, and I can see the questions more easily. Or you can also, there's also plenty of people actually in the chat answering questions, and I always really like it. Makes it a bit also more of a conversation among you guys. Oh, well. It is interesting that like this would be actually like a really relaxing task for me of just, well, I got a few hours to just retopologize the more like monotonous parts of the character, but for me it is actually kind of relaxing. But now that I'm actually streaming it, I'm like, oh man, I gotta make this somehow a bit more entertaining. Just this is way too boring. Well, I hope it's not. And I do like when you like ask questions, then I can at least do also something with that time, in addition to getting through this part of the retopology. And I do see some questions. As a beginner, what will be your advice to start with? A beginner to what? Retopology? Well, I mean, the best tip usually for beginners, and I mean, it's one of the more essential parts in retopology, is that you should always use quads. Even though people are breaking that rule, you should break it only if you know what you're doing. But try to make like evenly sized quads everywhere with a nice flow, so that the edges are kind of like aligned with the form of the object. Why didn't you flip the last retopology? Well, I mean, if you mean flip these clumps to the other side, I wouldn't do that because they have their own distinct direction, and it's going to look very obviously mirrored across. But I'm not exactly sure if that's what you mean, sorry. There we go. How much time does it usually take to model a whole character? Kind of depends. But like, I would say like at least a week. Like this character is much more time intensive, and like in a week I mean like as in full time. But Snow over here, I'm gonna model him over a much longer time period because I only got 2 hours every week. Some of the questions are actually zipping by. Like modeling, rigging, etc. For beginners. Oh, advice for beginners. I don't know. Like, there's so much to it. It's like modeling and rigging. I mean, first of all, these are very different fields in 3D. So giving advice on one of them is probably not really going to be helpful for the other. So I'm not exactly sure. As a beginner, should we model first or what else? Well, modeling is kind of, I would say, one of the more approachable fields in 3D. Like, you can very quickly get into modeling, whereas rigging requires a bit more technical knowledge. I would say maybe probably sculpting is the beginner friendliest part of 3D. Like, because it is a much more creative, free approach, I would say. Let's see. Does anyone focus into 3D designing, character modeling if you have a huge interest on animation? Because lots of freelancing work asks for both of them. Thank you for both of them. Well, you should have some essential knowledge in 3D design or like character design for animation. There's actually a lot of knowledge going into animation, but there is plenty of animators who don't have a deep knowledge in modeling, I would say. So I don't think they are necessarily required. You are allowed to specialize, but maybe for like getting into 3D, it is beneficial to learn a bit of everything, just so you have a bit of a full picture. Julian, I like watching you being able to surfing after an error or bug goes on. I feel less alone when it happens to me. Oh, thank you. I wish like these streams would go all really smoothly, but there's always an issue popping up, which is kind of part of my job anyway, because I am always working with very in development versions of Blender. So I am fully expecting things to not work suddenly anymore. There we go. Well, this is done. Yep, another clump retopologized. What do you think about streaming art? Should there be more out there? Because I think there are way too less streaming art. Or like, well, I think I'm not too much into watching streams myself, to be honest. So I'm not exactly sure on what the landscape of streaming art right now is, but yeah. Well, I like there to be variety. I think it's already kind of weird that I'm streaming Retopology. I love that Sergey at the Blender studio is streaming actual Blender development. That is special. that is worth gold. It's super good. It's just you don't see that sort of stuff. How do you think your process compares to a bigger Pixar-like studio process for character creation? I think there are like pretty significant differences, probably. First of all, I think for like bigger studios, there are a bit more efficient workflows, maybe probably also with automation and also outsourcing, I guess. But that also kind of comes down to the tools. I think it's still really valuable, like retopologizing something really by hand, like kind of how I am doing it right now, just because you really get a deeper understanding of what is required for retopology. It is also very much possible to just reuse models and slap them onto a new design and really optimize. But I think there is something kind of fun about doing it manually. But I also wouldn't mind if it's a bit more optimized. There's like an add-on floating around for Blender, or like at least I forgot the name of the guy, but I always see it like on Facebook or like Twitter. It's like on using an existing topology and then wrapping it around a new design, which is really interesting. That can save a lot of time potentially. I think I also kind of skipped some questions. Why game developers use tries? Ooh, that's an interesting question. Especially for retopology. So why do game engines use triangles? And the reason for that is, like, at least one of the reasons that I found is just, in the end, when you're rendering your topology, it's always going to be triangles, no matter what. Like, even if you render in cycles, it's going to end up as triangles while rendering. So the main reason why you use quads is once you actually subdivide the geometry, it becomes way more predictable how that is going to look like. Like, when you subdivide quads, it's really quite beautiful and easy, simple. But subdividing triangles is not going to work, or not going to work well. The thing is, in game engines, it's typically not required to subdivide geometry, and instead it's more focused on optimizing for the game engine, for the rendering. And what you typically do is you bake normal maps. And normal maps are a bit of a tricky thing. You want to have them as predictable as possible. Normal maps are kind of varying a bit from engine to engine, and also while just during the baking process, if everything is already a triangle, the same way how it is going to be in the render engine, it is going to be very predictable how the normal map is going to come out, or like any map that you're baking. If it's already triangles, yeah, it just becomes more predictable. I had issues where I was baking out normal maps for gaming projects, where because it was all quads, it just suddenly, I had the situation where I was baking a normal map, and during the normal map baking, it would triangulate my geometry for rendering. But then once I triangulated it myself and exported it to the engine, it actually triangulated it the other way around. Like, the edges were aligned differently. And that just suddenly breaks the normal maps. Like, and it's so interesting. So it actually, like, for game engines, it means that you don't need to worry too much about placing poles and n-gons and triangles, because in the end it's all going to be triangulated. So there's a bit more freedom in that. But yeah, eventually it all needs to be triangles, which can become a bit messy. I still don't quite understand how riggers are actually managing that. But I also haven't worked much for game projects, to be honest. Julian, that's the craft and art behind the magic on the screen. I'm missing a bit of context to that message. Have you heard of JMesh tools? If so, what do you think of it? I'd actually need to Google that. And I don't have a lot of time left, to be honest. I'd actually focus a bit more on this, but wait, no. I'm gonna quickly Google it. JMesh. JMesh tools. What is that? Is it like hard surfacing? Hard surface modeling. It's ads. Nope, I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna focus on the task at hand. Sorry. Maybe you want to add a bit more context. I'm not familiar with it. Do you have any experience working on games? Only really one project, I would say. Like, during my apprenticeship, we did actually work on a mobile gaming, like a mobile game project. And there, because I was like really free to experiment with like a lot of the assets and the characters, and especially the baking, like not very few of us actually had experience. I would say like almost none of us had experience in creating game assets. So I was like doing a lot of research in what is actually important for that, but also figuring out a lot of things by trial and error, just suddenly realizing. I remember that, like, that moment where I suddenly realized why, just based on me messing up, why it's actually important that the models are triangulated before baking textures. I wish someone told me that. There are probably still like gaps in my knowledge, and that's why I would actually love to at some point work on a game project again, especially with like other people who are experienced with it. There's so much to learn. Just on a technical side, on an art side. I would say my knowledge on a lot of things is actually pretty limited. There's still so much left to do. Julian, it was related to what's your retopology? Okay, I need to scroll up the messages, sorry. Oh, okay, thank you. How dense the retopology should be, as much as it needs to be. I would say for film, probably also games nowadays, there's not like that much of a limit in terms of how much geometry you can afford. So I would say go all out, but still retopology is about landing on the most optimal amount of loops, so don't overdo it. It's just add as many loops as you need to capture the forms that you have, and that's it. I mean, for game projects it would also be a bit more different because you can't subdivide, but that is the most essential part of it, just capturing the silhouette and the shapes. JMesh Tools is both hard surface but also very good sculpting tools. On their channel there's a sculpting feature video. Well, I'm gonna check it out. Now I actually have it in the browser on the background, so I am going to check it out. Thank you very much. I do think it's fascinating what people are doing with add-ons. Like, even if I'm not going to use them much, just that whole community aspect of it, that people are just, like, whatever Blender is officially lacking right now, like, just because there's so much to do. People in the community will just take it upon themselves to add more functionality, and I think that is quite beautiful. Blender Studio, but it is better a freelancer or work with a... is it better to work freelance or in a studio? Well, there are advantages and disadvantages to either, I would say. Personally, I didn't work freelance yet. I kind of like resisted it because I do absolutely love working in a studio. And the main reason for that is just purely for the fact that just the sense of working in a team is stronger. You're right there locally. You're probably there in the studio for longer, and you get to really be part of the team and with the people. With a freelancer, you're kind of always like going from job to job, which offers probably a bit more variety, and you actually get to pick the really interesting projects that you want to work on. So you actually have a lot of control over what you want to do, as long as someone is providing the work. But if you can choose, that's amazing. You're not bound to what a studio has set to you as tasks in a project. I saw a random question. Are you using a Retopology add-on or just... yeah, are you using a Retopology add-on? Nope. I'm using just default Blender. Okay, I think I got this also. And now all of the main clumps are retopologized. Okay, now it's going into detailing. I think like in general the poly count is pretty similar. Like I at least want the same kind of density across all of these clumps. So I could now just go in here and just do the same thing I did before. just maybe now a bit faster. So I just like select all of these edges, like this one, this one over here. It's going all the way around. Yep. Like this. Oh, wait. I'm already going to mark them as a seam just so I don't lose the selection. It's a neat little trick that I sometimes like to use. Because I am not quite happy with this. Wait. Okay, so it's going all the way over here. Yeah, like this. Okay, now I can like clear the shop over here. I can select one edge that I marked as a seam. With Shift G, I can say select similar, crease. Oh, wait, Shift G, select similar, seam, and then I can just clear the seam, and I have all of these edges selected again. Now I can just like loop select these guys, loop select this one, not that one. There we go. Yeah, this is looking good. All of these I want to have beveled. So now I can just select, I can just switch to the bevel tool and just bevel them. And there we go. I'm gonna add some more loops over here for keeping the volume intact on these bigger surfaces. And now it's just a bit of a game of cleaning up the topology. And this is just to get rid of some of the triangles, essentially. That's basically it. Like that. This is kind of bad. But it's so I typically would want to avoid vertices with more than 5 connected edges, but in this case maybe it's fine. I'm gonna still try to avoid it. I can't help myself. So now it's a bit more spread out. It's a lot of poles right next to each other, but it should be fine. I'm just going to enable the subdivision surface modifier so I can actually see this a bit better as a preview. I'm also going to add a loop over here. And again, over here, I might just slide some of these edges into each other to get rid of some of these loops where it's the most dense. Like this. Okay, I kind of neglected the chat a bit, sorry. Let's see. Blender as a software gets really exciting when artists realize that Blender is literally their software. Team up with developers and you can do anything. That is so true. It is really amazing like how much you can actually do with the software. Also just people... I mean, I am quite amazed sometimes when I look at like add-ons that make Blender pretty much look like a completely different software. Just to focus, like just to really optimize it for a very specific task. And I mean, just because of the license of Blender, if you didn't know it, like it's all of these add-ons are actually free by default. It's like you can buy them, but what you're actually buying is more like an easy way to download them. Like the source code is available for free by default, and it has to be. It's all part of the same license that Blender has. Of course, I do like that, like, you can at least, you can buy the add-on, which, of course, supports the add-on developer. In general, I love that, like, also just like with any website that supports, like, a way of getting something for free, but then also there's a tipping system on top where you can just give them money anyways. Super nice. Okay. So there's only one little bit of a messy part, but that clump is completed. There's like a bunch of questions accumulated. Do you use reference for sculpting? Definitely, yes. Do you use reference images for sculpting? Yes. GitHub is a good source for add-ons. Yes, it is. Any reason you prefer Alt-H deselect instead of the A toggle? I do remember when this was brought up in the studio of like we were working on Spring, and we were like it was right at that time when Campbell was introducing the minimal Blender key map of just getting rid of a lot of shortcuts, especially really complicated ones, and just really making the key map more simple and open for customization, which I really love. But then we were like kind of examining our workflows, and a lot of us have this experience where like when we want to deselect something or like make sure everything is deselected, we would press A, and then like we would press A bunch of times just to make sure everything is really deselected. Even if like we press A and A again, and then A again, and then A again, and it's like it was really unintuitive, and it just caused a lot of button presses where none were really necessary. So we introduced this option to at first, like, I mean, it is still an option that like you can either double tap A or you can press Alt A to deselect. And in my opinion, the Alt A shortcut is just more elegant. It's introducing a second shortcut, yes, but it's just making it more predictable if you're actually deselecting or not. And especially when sculpting, I remember when the viewport was really slow, and just deselecting everything or selecting something is going to have a loading time in itself, and then it just becomes a waiting game. And I'm really glad that's gone. There we go. Some more questions. Nope. There we go. Okay, I created some more edges here just because I wanted to make sure that this actually continues all the way to the end. Okay, now I can just select all of the, with Shift G, select seams. I'm gonna clear the seams and I'm going to bevel them. Okay, now I'm gonna add some more loops over here for the volumes. So their curvature is also still intact. Like this. Maybe not for this one. And now I have a lot of loops, and now it's just about cleaning up the cleaning this up a bit. Shouldn't take too long. Not a huge fan of this. Maybe I can... Well, what I can do is I can merge these lines. Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on. Let's undo this. I'm gonna merge these two triangles into one. Quad. You can just merge these, get this up here. Okay, screw it. I'm just going to add another edge over here, so this all continues nicely. There we go. I see a bunch of questions pop up. Do you need to study animation or just do it how we see it? Is it nice if we choose animation as an occupation advice? Well, there is the possibility to study it. Personally, I didn't study. I had an apprenticeship which had a lot more practical I got a lot more practical experience in working in 3D out of that, but I started as just a hobby, and if you put a lot of time into learning 3D by yourself, or even like take courses just on your own time, I would say that's already a huge step, and you can get really far with it. Go. Looking at this retopology, it's just at some point it just becomes a puzzle and nothing more. Like at times I don't even see the hair in this. Like it is just a massive hunk of edges. Like this. Okay. I'm gonna enable all the modifiers again. You can notice that there is a bit of volume loss in general for the retopology right now, but I am eventually going to show you how to fix that. Oh, this edge was supposed to be beveled. Some more questions, because some say it's a waste of time. A waste of time to study. Well, could be, but I mean, it also kind of depends on in what country you live. It's like, I don't know, and like at least in Germany where I'm from, it's a bit more approachable. You can get actually very easily money from the government to study without having like a lot of debt. Like, but it is in general, yes, I would say like the practical experience is more valuable, but what you get from studying is time and social contacts. And I mean, I guess you would like get that in a lot of situations. I don't know. Not much is actually drawing me to study, to be honest. Okay, I think this is pretty much done. Nice. Okay, now next clump. Is it good to use matte caps for sculpting? Yes, I would say absolutely. The studio lighting is also nice, but it is not offering a lot of detail, and the matte caps are just providing a lot of a lot of contrast in the shading, and you can just see your forms and your surface details much more clearly. Is there any course on animation just for the hobbyist who's starting? For sure, there must be. I mean, there's like plenty of beginner animation tutorials out there, but a full-on like dedicated course. I mean, we do have animation tutorials and like a course on the Blender Cloud, and people are like, you can comment there and you can get answers, but I'm not sure on like a curriculum, or like something like really dedicated that's costing also more money, of course. Again, I'm like in terms of animation, I'm not an animator, so I'm not fully sure on that. Is it thanks, a nice job by the way. Thank you. Are you gonna use the Sol mod to fix it? Not sure what you mean. Sol mod. Would you advise a beginner, me, animator, to start as a freelancer and start getting hired in a studio, considering current situation of a pandemic? I mean, home office is definitely the better way to go right now anyway. It's like, that's where most people are going to be at. But probably as a beginner starting out, I really love, I loved what was going on websites, on platforms like Artella, which was really kind of like a creative platform for kickstarting projects where everyone just works together in their free time. And that's where I also got a bit more experience and also like a little bit more contacts in the industry by just working with people in my own free time on really interesting creative projects. So I guess like if I look at like my road of like how I learned 3D, the best way to start is like to just kind of have it as a hobby by yourself, get some artworks out there and just kind of get a good grip on the tools and just learn a bit by yourself and also from others. And then eventually once you have like some skills acquired, you like reach out and work with others online and do some really fun and creative projects. And then that just like that just really kickstarts your portfolio as well. There's like a bunch of work that I had from like these projects that I did in my free time that really helped me to get the job here at the Blender studio. What is your favorite and least favorite part of the 3D character creation process and why? Favorite is probably still sculpting, just figuring out the 3D design, and that's not going to change probably. Least favorite, at least in what I'm usually working on, probably surfacing, so texture painting and shading, but that is also easy to change. Like, my opinion on that is very easy to change, because the main reason why I'm so turned off by it is really just that that like, at least in terms of shading, that kind of changed already, because the main reason why I was turned off by that is because cycles are slow. I don't like waiting for a render to be finished. I think that is the most boring part of the entire character creation. But now with Eevee, that is easier than ever. So I'm already way more excited on shading snow than I would have been for other projects in the past. But texture painting is still a bit of a pain, to be honest. And I don't think that's like a secret. I think everyone is kind of aware that texture painting needs a lot of work. But that is already starting to shift a bit as well. If you've seen the development for Sculpt vertex colors, just getting a new brush engine and a new system for that in place is already heavily increasing the fun that you can have with that sort of thing, with that system. Let's see. Oh, I still need to add like some loops over here for the volumes. Like this. It's fine. Julien, in your Retopology tutorials, you talk about flow of the mesh and how you want to redirect loops in it. Is understanding the mesh a matter of theory or experience? Well, I would say mainly experience. It's like the way I describe it, especially in my tutorials, it's like how my thought process is kind of going with that. So different people have a different thought process and how they think about topology. And I think you probably, like anyone, is going to develop a bit of their own, but it is essentially just solving a puzzle. And the way on how you think on solving that puzzle, like your approach, is going to be defined by you. And not by me. The only thing I can do is like to maybe help gain some more understanding on how to maybe think about it. Let's see. I think this is done. This part. Yep. Awesome. So I can just get out of here. Enable subdivision surface. Ah! Nope, I wasn't done. This part. There we go. Now should be done. Okay. Solidify to inflate it and fix volume. Oh, no, I actually have a different approach on how to fix the loss of volume. But I'm going to get to that eventually, maybe in the next stream. Because I'm already really going over time, to be honest. I'm gonna finish this last clump, and then I'm done for today. Is it possible to make a short movies all by myself? Yeah, kinda. I mean, you can make a movie by yourself. It's a lot of work. But it's possible. There are like plenty of people online who are sharing their work on how they made a movie all by themselves. But you need a lot of knowledge on how to make movies and all these different aspects on making movies. It's a lot of work. Okay. Same thing here. Adding some loops for extra volume. Oh. There we go. Okay. There we go. Yes, you can make a short TV series or movies by yourself, yes. Can you recommend any sculpting project for intermediate sculptor? I don't know, like one thing I did a lot and I do think is actually kind of helpful, especially if you want to focus more on the sculpting part and not figuring out a complete original character design, is just to find a really nice concept online that you like, ask the concept artist if you can make a 3D version of that, and interpret that design into 3D using the sculpting tools. I think that is already like a really interesting, really educational exercise of just learning the sculpting tools themselves. So that's actually something I can really recommend. Let's see. Yeah, I think this is also done. Perfect. So now, if I just bring back all of these objects over here, let's see. Hair, eyes, and the head. There we go. Okay. Can also enable the subdivision surface modifier on this object. And here we go. This is already much more progress on the retopology. Can actually toggle in front on all of these. I also have the... Oh. I also have the eyes. There's like little objects missing, but this is already more progress. There are other objects still missing, of course, like these guys. But you get the gist now. This is like still pretty much the same workflow. And I'm probably just going to repeat that exactly how I did there. Yeah, okay, wait. I wanna try something. can I go into edit mode on all of these objects. Wow. Oh well. This has been a lot. I can also still answer some questions. What's your favorite muscle? What? I don't know. At first I was confused because I thought you were making a baguette. Turns out it's Snow's hair. Lol, looks very nice, thank you. So this should be most of it. There's still like little parts missing, but I hope that was also still worth watching. Even for like more of a static object like this. Although this is a part that I would like rather more like kind of automize, if that would be possible. Already curious to see how you do it on the next stream. Thanks, Julian. Thank you very much for watching. Okay, so I'm going to call it a day for this. So next time I'm going to finish up the hair, and then it is pretty much going to just go into retopologizing the rest of the body. So really just starting with the main, basically just connecting the head with all the other elements. I would probably just retopologize them kind of step by step as their own elements and then merge them together, and then eventually carry on with the clothing. For the only object that I would skip is essentially just the shoes, because I already retopologized them. These are the same shoes as I did for Rain, and so it's mainly just going to be about the pants, the shirt, and the body. So you can look forward to that next Thursday. Last question. The HP, has the UVs done and unwrapped? The HP. No, nothing has UVs yet. Thank you for taking the time to answer all of our questions in such a great detail. Great work on Snow's hair, and your real hair is perfectly iconic as well. Thank you very much. Actually, I need to go to a barber. So thank you everyone for watching, and I will see you next time.